Life is full of many different types of many different things. So many that we a lot of times tend to just find a select few things that we enjoy and stick to them. That's pretty much what we call being in our comfort zones. But sometimes we gotta step out of our comfort zones if we want to broaden our horizons and overall get more experience in life as people. That goes for anything in our lives. Our daily activities, the food we eat, the media we consume, and etc. This video is about the gaming side of that, and how we as gamers gotta remember to step out of our comfort zones every once in a while if we really want to experience what all gaming has to offer. Now when I say this, know that it comes from years of hearing this from people. I really hate it when folks say that there's nothing to play and that gamers dry or going through some kind of drought and stuff like that, when they're either just a person that won't even look at a game unless the graphics look better than real life, or just somebody that only plays the same 3 games every year. Folks gotta learn that first off, graphics ain't everything, and secondly, it's important to play something different every once in a while. But let's take this one step at a time. So graphics, they're the first thing you notice when you look at a game. It's kind of like a first impression, and they say that first impressions are the most important when meeting somebody new or trying something new. So I guess I can't blame you too much for doing this, but y'all are putting a little too much of a game's worth into its graphics. A lot of y'all kind of got y'all's gaming priorities out of the way. You see, most folks these days prioritize what's most important to them in a game in this order: graphics, story, and then gameplay. When in actuality, you really should prioritize gameplay over anything else. You're playing a game, not watching a movie. If a game looks really good, that's fantastic, but that's just the icing on the cake. The real meat and potatoes of a game is the gameplay, and a lot of times it's story. Like, if graphics were the main thing folks prioritize in games, we wouldn't go back and play older ones or even like them anymore. The reason people still go back and play Devil May Cry 3 isn't because of its graphics. If folks was judging the games based off of that, the only DMC game anybody would care about would be 5. The reason people love 3 so much is because the gameplay is really good even by today's standards, and this story is arguably the best in the entire series. I'm not saying that a game's aesthetics ain't important, because they are, but I'd rather have a fun game that looks a bit outdated than a boring game with graphics that look like real life. For example, take a game like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and put it against something like Horizon Zero Dawn. One of these games has some of the best looking graphics I've ever seen, but the other game won't put you to sleep. If I were to give you a choice to get one of these games to keep free of charge, what would you choose? Personally, I'm choosing Metal Gear Rising all day long. Of course, I'm not saying that you're a bad gamer or any less of a gamer if you would choose Horizon Zero Dawn if you really like it. It's just that one game is simply more fun than the other, to me at least. And for the record, I'm not trying to say that you can't have a good looking game that's also really fun, because that'd just be a straight up lie. If you've ever played games like Devil May Cry 5 and Scarlet Nexus, you know what I'm talking about. Those games look phenomenal and they play even better. Also again, I'm not saying that graphics don't matter at all. They do, but only to an extent. I'll even admit that the game's graphics could be part of what makes me interested in the first place, or it could be part of why I like a game in general. For example, part of the reason why I decided to get into the Shantae series was because I like the cartoony art style of the games, and part of the reason why I love Persona 5 so much is because of its anime art style. The whole game is just an anime disguised as a turn-based RPG, and I love it. But my point is, even if those games didn't look the way they did, I still enjoy them because at their cores, they're both still really good games. I know that we've come a very long way since the age of the NES and the Sega Genesis in terms of visual fidelity, and games are looking better and better as the years go by, which is really exciting to see and think about, but you gotta remember that you're playing a video game at the end of the day. If the game is genuinely good, you'll most likely enjoy it regardless. So next time you run across a game that's pixelated, low poly, or just looks a bit old, just try and give it a shot. You might just have the most fun you've had in a long while. When I say that it's important to get out of your comfort zone and play different stuff, trust me, I know from experience. Growing up purely as a Nintendo child, my gaming tastes were really simple yet picky to say the least. If it didn't have Mario or Kirby or Sonic on the box, I didn't want it. Back then, gaming to me was nothing but simple platformers, and that was about it. I was like that until middle school when I got my brother's old PS4. That's when I got my first taste of other genres that isn't just running around and jumping on stuff. But that being said, I still couldn't bring myself to play stuff that's vastly different from what I'm used to. Playing Mario and Sonic for pretty much all my entire life had major effects on me as a gamer in the long run. Plus, my mother wasn't exactly keen on her baby playing something like GTA, even though I was in high school. But that's a topic for another video. Fast forward to a few months ago, I built my very own PC. I needed one if I'm gonna make my dream of making content creation a career a reality. Plus, I really wanted to try out some Sonic fan games I've been hearing about. When I first got on Steam, I was overwhelmed with all the games to try out. I had a bit of money to spend at the time, so I made it a goal to get mostly games of genres I never played before. Games I would never see myself playing in a million years. One of those games was Resident Evil 4, one of the greatest horror games of all time. Or so I was told. Okay, something about me. I really hate horror games. Horror anything actually. Like, I'm 19 years old and I still refuse to play Five Nights at Freddy's to this day. But even though that's the case, I still was able to bring myself to play and beat Resident Evil 4. Also, yes, I know RE4 is like the least scary in the entire franchise, but you gotta crawl before you walk. I was not about to let Resident Evil 2 be my first horror game. That game is just too much, like, just no. But still, I beat the game, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. The over-the-shoulder tank style gameplay was something I had to get used to at first, but I grew to like it. Blasting away waves of zombies with a shotgun was satisfying too. I liked all the characters and the goofy story, and it really got me interested to play more games in the series. I'll probably play the remake of 2 eventually, but not right now. My backlog is way too big to be worrying about anything new right now. But that's enough about that. Back to Steam. Now, if you don't already know, Steam has a metric ton of games on the platform, with a library of games spanning from the late 90s all the way to games that just came out a few days ago. When it hit me that I have more games available to me than I'll ever know what to do with, I decided to dedicate a little bit of time every once in a while just to dive into Steam and see what new games or demos I can find. Fast forward to today, my wish list has grown to have over 1,000 games on it. If all game production in the world were to stop for the next decade and a half, trust me, we'd all be fine. There's way more than enough games to keep us occupied. And that's not just on Steam either. It could be the Xbox Store, PSN, or the eShop. Of course you won't have as many games as something like Steam, but there's more than enough to keep you from feeling like there's nothing to play. Just spend some time browsing around and you'll be sure to find something new. You just gotta be willing to play something that you never tried before and give it a shot. But yeah, in conclusion, just play more games. It ain't that hard. We just had the Game Awards where a whole bunch of games got shown off, and then you have all the other games we already knew was coming out this year. Also, you got the games that's already out, new and old. If you want my personal recommendation, I say try out Gris and the Shantae series. They're pretty good and I think they deserve more love and attention. If you got a game or series you want to recommend folks to try out, you're more than free to mention them in the comments. Also, for those that regularly watch my content, I want to eventually make a series of videos about some of the genres of games I come to love over the past few months. I don't know when I'm gonna make them since there's still a whole bunch of stuff that I need to learn about all these genres, but know that they're coming. I hope you like them. Well, that's it for me. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you want to keep in contact with me, my Twitter's in the description. Have a good day, y'all.